Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great Sunday. We're in church, worship Jesus. If for any reason you missed services this past Sunday, go to our website and watch the live stream from yesterday. Today in our Bible reading plan, we are in the book of 2 Kings chapter 18. 2 Kings chapter 18. These events are taking place while Isaiah is being a prophet. And there are two things that spoke to me in chapter 18. One is how a godly man had a very brief moment of weakness and fear. And the second thing is the danger of arrogance that causes people to mock God. And so let's look at that first thing, a godly man who had a brief moment of spiritual weakness. In chapter 18, Hezekiah becomes king. Now, remember, we had seen previously that the Assyrians destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel. Well, that's about the time he becomes king. So he's king when that happens. He's king down in Judah, the southern kingdom, when his fellow Jews, if you will, in the northern kingdom are obliterated by the Assyrians. And he's a good king. He's a godly king. Now, his father, Ahaz, was an evil king. Led the people to worship idols and all of that. And to keep Assyria from invading Jerusalem and Judah, Ahaz had for years been paying annual tribute to the king of Assyria. A very common practice in ancient times where a nation would pay money, if you will, to a world empire and be subjected to them, so to speak. Well, not so to speak, they were subjected to them, but that kept that foreign power from invading them and destroying them. And of course, the Assyrians deported people when they invaded and conquered them. So for years, the southern kingdom had been paying tribute or money or whatever you want to call it to Assyria. Hezekiah becomes king. And he's a godly king, and he led religious reforms. In verse 3 of chapter 18, he did right in the sight of the Lord, like David. Verse 4, he removed the high places and broke down the sacred pillars and cut down the Asherah. He got rid of the idol worship that was dominant in the country. Verse 5, he trusted the Lord. Verse 6, he clung to the Lord. I love those two expressions. You go on and read here, and also what Chronicles and Isaiah tells us about Hezekiah. He strengthened the military. He fortified the city. He got Judah ready, if you will, for war. And then in verse 7, he does something. Verse 7, the Lord was with him. Wherever he went, he prospered. And he, talking about Hezekiah, rebelled against the king of Assyria and did not serve him. What that means is he stopped paying the tribute. He stopped paying the money to Assyria. Well, Assyria did not respond well to that. And in verse 13, we read, in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and seized them. So he hasn't attacked Jerusalem yet, but he's attacked all the other major cities, if you will, in the country of Judah outside of Jerusalem. They're surrounded by the Assyrian army, and that's when Hezekiah, who's this godly king, strong leader, becomes weak. Verse 14, then Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent to the king of Syria at Lachish, where he was, I have done wrong, withdraw from me, whatever you impose on me, I will bear. And so Hezekiah goes on and sends a bunch of silver and gold, even stripping some of the gold from inside the temple and sending it to Assyria. He paid what he had owed and paid extra, if you will. And he thought, well, that will be the end of it. The Assyrian army will go back home, back to Nineveh, back to where they came from. Well, that didn't happen. The Assyrian army marched on to Jerusalem and surrounded it. And through messengers sent word to King Hezekiah, yeah, you've paid the tribute, but because you rebelled, that's not the end of this. Your nation, you and your nation must unconditionally surrender to us and we are going to deport the people. Now, we'll put them in a good place. We'll resettle them in a good land. We won't treat them, we won't kill them, but we're going to deport them. And because of your rebellion, even though you paid this tribute, if you don't surrender, we will destroy you and we will kill you. And this is an example of Hezekiah, a man who was godly and had great faith and was taking bold actions. All of a sudden, in the moment, looks out and sees how strong and large the Assyrian army is. And in that moment, his faith weakens. And he's overcome by fear and anxiety. And he starts thinking, how do I get out of this? Any of us who have faith, any of us who have had moments of boldness in our walk with Jesus can experience moments of fear and weakness. But the truth is, going backwards never works. It didn't work here for Hezekiah, and it doesn't work in our lives either. What we have to do is keep pushing forward and trusting God. Now, Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, was arrogant, mocked God. His messengers, whom he sent into Jerusalem to speak to the Jewish leaders there in Jerusalem, they were arrogant and they mocked God. And they wanted all the people to hear what they were saying. In chapter 18, starting at verse 19, then Rabshakeh said to them, say now to Hezekiah, this is what the Assyrian representatives told Hezekiah's representatives. Tell Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, Sennacherib, what is this confidence that you have? It goes on to talk about them relying on a reed, a stick that's been crushed, Egypt, because Hezekiah had formed an alliance with Egypt, thinking that would make him stronger. And Sennacherib laughs at that. And Isaiah had actually told Hezekiah, don't do that. And so he makes fun of all that. And then he says that's useless. And then there have been no gods that could stop the Assyrian army. Why do you think your God can? Dropping down to verse 28. Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in Judean, in the language of the Jewish people. Hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah, your king, deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you from my hand. He's saying that in the hearing of the people. Nor let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, Yahweh, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us, and this city will not be given to the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Assyria, make your peace with me, come out with me, etc. Verse 32, until I come and take you away to a land like your own. I'm going to deport you, but you will be alive. Do not, at the end of verse 32, do not listen to Hezekiah when he misleads you, saying, the Lord will deliver us. Has anyone, verse 33, has any one of the gods of the nations delivered his land from the hand of the king of Assyria? There has not been a nation we've attacked whose God saved them. Your God won't save you either. The best thing you can do is surrender and let us deport you or die, because your God is useless. And so he's mocking God. Now we'll see in the next chapters that we'll look at this week that he paid for that mockery. He paid for that mockery. But here's the takeaway from me. As people of faith and who can be bold in our faith and belief, yes, we can have moments of weakness and fear. But don't allow the mockery of others. Don't allow the arrogance of others. Don't allow the loudness, the boastfulness of others, of those who reject God. Don't allow them to intimidate you, because your God is bigger than all of them. And the Bible makes it clear, God will not be mocked. And we will see that as this week unfolds and we read more chapters. So don't be intimidated by those who are loud and arrogant in their rejection of God and what he says. And don't you allow that to make you weak in your faith. You stay strong. You stay strong in your trust in the Lord. Hezekiah eventually did, and it was a good thing. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'll see you then.